Hey, I'm going to judge something you like. You don't mind, right?
What makes you different is what makes you Spider-Man.
Officer, I love you.
Spider-Man. People like him. He is arguably the most famous Marvel Comics character. He is potentially Stan Lee's biggest creative contribution to popular culture.
Don't make me come down there, you punk.
And he has movies.
Peter.
Boy, does he have movies. Before I feel obligated to add Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse to this group of films, let's make a nifty little list ranking the 6 current films thus far, from the Sam Raimi Trilogy, to the Amazing series, to the current MCU canon films. We're going to rank them from worst to best, as simple as a glob of web fluid to the face. Some films won't be on the list, however. I'm not counting Venom because while it does deal with a character from the Spider-Man books, it's not a story about Spider-Man, nor any television or direct-to-video films. Though if the Marvel gods are watching, I want a DVD set of this.
Things be a part of Spider-Man.
Also, Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War are excluded from this list because they aren't solely Spider-Man stories, even though Spider-Man is in them and significant developments are made with the character. Some more soul-crushing than others. I just watched my childhood hero disintegrate on the screen, what the fuck? So, let's rank the 6 Spider-Man movies.
You're that Spider guy on YouTube, right? Call me Spider-Man! Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah!
Number 6, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll stand by this. Both of the Amazing Spider-Man films are not up to par with the films that came before. I don't think the plot and story are good, and the depictions of the characters are either one note, too vague, or dangerously contemporary. This product offers really nothing after being a lackluster Spider-Man story at best, and at worst, an audio-visual presentation for a series of Spider-Man movies that I don't think people would have liked as earnestly as they, or even myself, would think. While Amazing Spider-Man 2 has some good things going for it, the film doesn't feel like an organic piece of storytelling. Its place now is just being the go-to so bad it's good choice of the Spider-Man films. Oh, they made cheesy Spider-Man movies before and since this one, but at least those were well made despite, or perhaps because of knowing their place in a bigger shared universe. Spider-Man 1 and 3 were trying to tell its story first and think about crossovers and spin-offs after the fact, and Homecoming spiced things up in a way that will come to a bit later. Number 5, The Amazing Spider-Man 1. As much as it might have felt at the time, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was actually worse than Amazing Spider-Man 1. Look, what I'm trying to say that Amazing Spider-Man 1 is a better film than its sequel. I still contest that Peter and Gwen's romance isn't as strong as people think, but both are fine characters. The new suit, while being an admirable change to spice things up and give the film a unique identity, isn't one of my favorite suits from the films, or even good enough for a mainstream version of Spider-Man. All the changes they made to the origin story of the character were not good changes, and I feel the focus on the romance and the mystery behind Peter's parents was a wrong one. It's not all over the place as Amazing Spider-Man 2 was, but the tone is way more drab than what I would have liked for the character. The cinematography is standard, and the Lizard is a missed opportunity for a road of themes and issues to tackle. I am not a fan, and I feel I was kind of right to suggest that these films would be considered a lot more disposable compared to the Sam Raimi films once Disney and Marvel got to borrow their toy back. Number 4, Spider-Man 3.
Now dig on this.
Yeah, you saw this, but people are way too hard on this movie. Does everything about it work? Heck no. Going back to it now, it feels exhausting to watch. I applaud the new takes on the characters and the unintentional finality of the ending, but I totally see how people felt that Peter became so intentionally annoying to the point where it just ruins the experience. With its various plot lines, the drama isn't up to the caliber that came before, and I totally empathize with the crew to can Spider-Man 4 after this. Aside from the action, the drama of Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, and the words from a kind old man, there's not a whole lot to recommend for a rewatch.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
Number 3, Spider-Man Homecoming. In many ways, it's a standard film. when analyzed a bit more, Spider-Man Homecoming is a movie that I feel that people aren't liking enough. To cut to the short of it, I think the plot of Peter figuring out Spider-Man's place in a world full of iron-suited heroes and magic hammer gods, and having it clashed against Adrian Toome's socio-economic views is a nice conflict for the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Homecoming has a great cast and great action set pieces that do have stakes, no matter how invisible they seem once you first watch it. Taking place largely outside the island of Manhattan and into the suburbs of Washington, D.C. and Queens is a cool move to keep Spider-Man and Peter Parker fresh and interesting. If you're watching this video, you have probably already seen Spider-Man Homecoming, but I think it's way better and more entertaining than people give it credit for. At least in some circles of the film critic elite, I suppose, if that's a term.
What the
Number 2, Spider-Man, the 2002 film. After about 2 decades of trying to get the dang thing made, Spider-Man 1 swung onto the scene and took the world by storm. The film is dated immensely, but the important factors like story and character hold up really, really well. The drama is relatable and human, the cast is excellently chosen and workable, and William Dafoe, in my mind, provides one of the greatest and most memorable comic book villain performances in film.
Can you expect anything from the man who played Jesus?
Maybe. What's Jim Caviezel doing? It's not a direct adaptation of the source material, but rather a combination of reference, cultural perception, and artistic vision. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man series is just like the 1970s-80s Superman series and the 1980s-90s Batman series before it. There will never be a Spider-Man film like this one. Perhaps other than... Number 1, Spider-Man 2, 2004. Spider-Man 2 is a really good sequel, but also just a great Spider-Man story in general. The film knew what to capitalize on and change to make a thrilling, more emotionally invested follow-up. The drama is earnest and compelling, and the action is creative and exciting. Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus may have felt weird, I mean weirder than normal, with the small changes they made with his character, but that's just internet nitpicking on my end. Spider-Man 2 is a film that focuses on the interpersonal human aspect of the character extraordinarily well. That's something stories and superhero tales should strive for more often, and that's why I put it as the best on this ranking video. Because I feel it is. Well, I guess there's only one question remaining. Can Enter the Spider-Verse continue the tradition of truly excellent Spider-Man movies? Maybe.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak them out.